My initial reaction to season 4 of The Boys was disappointment. Every scene seemed to have some kind of cheap jab at the right that was like a constant reminder of the writer's own political leaning. It was both unnecessary and it pulled me out of the story's immersion. It seems like I'm not the only one who thinks this way. This season, the show has split its audience right down the middle, where on one side the conservatives complain about the show's wokeness, and on the other side, liberals say the show has always been like this, and if you don't like it, then it's been making fun of you, and you just didn't realize it. Now, it was never a secret that the writers were leftists, but there were not many complaints like this back when the previous 3 seasons came out. So that's why I went and rewatched the entire series, just to see if season 4's harsh criticism is justified. In previous seasons, the show cleverly weaved their political views into a fun and entertaining story, and for the most part the writers' political bias was not distracting. A lot of their subject matter took on leftist issues. Say in season 1 we have the deep Me Tooing Starlight being against blind faith in religion, and even A-Train being racially profiled. Now these are important concerns for the left, and the show effectively used it to convey new dimensions to each character. The show knew its place as a TV series, and didn't take stances on subjects that it couldn't portray. The show never went deeper into politics than their characters did. And at this point, anyone aware of modern American politics could see that it had a left-wing view, but it was so fun to watch that it didn't even matter what your politics were. You could just enjoy it. Season 2 and 3 is when they started overplaying their hand, but still, it was enjoyable anyways. The new antagonists each represented a critique of the far right. Stormfront represents how Nazism evolves through the modern right, Gunpowder is a Second Amendment fanatic, Soldier Boy is pretty much a boomer, Blue Hawk is a racist, and even Todd is a MAGA fanatic. The show criticizes each of them by revealing how ignorant, backwards, arrogant, or straight up evil they all are. It's pretty clear that the writers only targeted the far right without criticizing the far left. Sure, there was Victoria Newman, the AOC parody, but we know absolutely nothing about her political beliefs except that she's anti-Homelander. At first, the show seemed to be attacking both sides of the aisle. Virtue signaling from companies and celebrities are criticized on both the left and the right, but when it comes to criticizing political ideas and values, the show exclusively targets the right wing as seen in the treatment of the show's antagonists. It's up for debate, but I'd say that overall, the political bias in season 2 and 3 didn't detract from the story all too much, except for just a few moments of cliche dialogue, such as when Stormfront, a Nazi, name-dropped PewDiePie.
So are you into any things that, kids are into? Like, PewDiePie?
Now, I haven't watched PewDiePie in a long while, but anyone familiar with his content knows he's just a normal guy that was swept up in a crazy culture war. The name drop is just kind of a pretty cheap slight. Then there was Soldier Boy's misogyny towards Grace Mallory.
You should smile more.
Okay, look, as an ambassador from Planet Actual Woman, I know that you think these lines work, but
Oh, they do?
they don't, and they never have. The women are either humoring you or they're scared of you, but none of them like you.
Every line here was kinda cliche. Then there was pretty much every Blue Hawk line.
Is this like a canceled thing? Am I being canceled?
Well, I just think that you could stand to be a little better informed.
Do your research. Like, blacks commit a disproportionate number of murders.
All lives matter.
Now, during these few moments, the characters stopped being characters and simply became vessels for the writers to peddle their own political bias. The show very clearly signals the anti-right-wing direction it wants to take. The antagonist ties to American exceptionalism.
He used those values to prove America's exceptionalism to the world.
The one-sided depiction of the far right, the season 2 episode 7 hook of the incel loner driven to violence against an immigrant, and then what I consider the show's gravest offense, this trivia box for Taxi Driver. It reads, Homelander relates to De Niro's character, Travis Bickle, because both of them feel a threat to their white male privilege, and both feel entitled to lash out with violence because of it. What Taxi Driver is really about is a disillusioned war veteran driving a taxicab on the streets of New York. The movie is both sympathetic and horrified by the main character Travis Bickle, who is isolated but violent and delusional. Homelander sympathizes with him without acknowledging the bad side.
You get disrespected over and over and over. That's what happens. How much shit is he supposed to take?
While whoever wrote this blurb only gets the bad side without the sympathy. Whoever did write this has conveniently reduced a complex movie to fit their own political agenda, and in doing so, makes the same mistake that Homelander does in understanding only half of the movie. Why can't Taxi Driver just have a normal info box like the rest of them? This could only happen because of the writer's own hubris. Besides this atrocious blurb, it doesn't exactly fit with Homelander's character to empathize with a regular old human whose job is to clean jizz off of a car seat. As much as the show attempts to tie him to the right wing, they've already set Homelander up to be someone who doesn't believe in any politics. He's not racist or sexist or jingoistic at all. He is only ableist. His sense of entitlement doesn't come from his identity as a white male American, but only from his superpowers.
How many times do I have to tell you we don't need a fucking master race? I'm the master race, that's the point.
He looks down on mere humans. Racism, sexism, and all that is below him. He really only uses it to get under people's skin. And that's why this Taxi Driver reference doesn't make much sense, and the blurb gravely offensive. Now we're back to season 4, where the writing has only gotten worse. Well, first, I'd like to say that for a show that runs this long, it's inevitable for them to add in a ton of new characters to keep each season fresh. Season 2 and 3 had a great roster of characters. But season 4, the new characters are just not that good. It's honestly a drag to watch Frenchie and Colin's whole relationship. I see people online complain that they're gay, but I don't even care about that. It's just straight up not fun to watch. Then we have Kimiko and Tala, they're alright, but I just can't help feel Frenchie and Kimiko's arcs are just some filler to pump up the runtime. It's probably because their relationship was each of their main storylines up until this point, and since that's over now, they decided to be friends last season. Any new arc will just feel like excess. We also have Huey's mom and Butcher's old friend Joe Kessler as tack-on characters, but at least they keep it pretty interesting, especially Butcher's arc, which pushes the main story forward. Lastly, with the new characters this season, we have the new antagonists, Firecracker and Sister Sage, plus all the Gen V characters I don't know about since I didn't watch that show. With Firecracker, there isn't much new ground covered. She's pretty much another Stormfront, and the show makes the connection pretty clear.
You're a firecracker.
Me and this other soup, Liberty. Man, was she a firecracker.
Door is always open for anything.
So anything you need, anything. I mean anything, anything. Okay.
Good.
Okay.
But Sister Sage is the most interesting development. I thought the lobotomy scene was absolutely crazy, but that's about all that's good about her. I think a lot of poor creative decisions went into making her character. For one, I have a really hard time believing that she is the smartest person in the world.
You're the smartest woman on Earth.
Smartest person.
Her media manipulation tactics are what Stormfront was already doing in season 2. Sage doesn't seem to be steps ahead of everyone else like how I think a super genius would be. In reality, it just feels like she only has an above average intelligence. Tony Stark or Batman would absolutely roll her any day. And I think the real problem is that she's really being held back by the direction of the story. You see, I can't envision her MacGyvering something together or exploring some cool new technology, because the show isn't about that. It's purely going into the political storyline instead. I mean, we see in her little blurb, the first skill on her list is advanced engineering, but her character is stuck scheming political moves, which, yeah, it does require someone who's smart, but definitely not super genius level. This isn't the worst part about her character though. The worst part is the fact that her whole rivalry with Firecracker is built off of cheap racial tension.
Ain't you a little mouthy one?
Appreciate the subtextual racism there.
You know, when I first met you, I thought you were kind of uppity, but you're one of the good ones.
How's that for uppity, cracker?
The writer spared no opportunity for not only Sage, but the whole cast to belittle Firecracker and the right-wing ideas she represents.
We all know that Oprah has been under house arrest ever since... Oh, I'm gonna send your ass back to China, bitch.
She's Japanese.
Huh?
Yeah.
Really? Seems like she fell off her jet ski one too many times.
Now you don't have to play a victim. You can really be one.
The show hammers it into our heads in the most arrogant way possible that they think the right sucks and their leaders are all liars.
Sell purpose. These people got nothing. I want to bring them together, tell them a story. Which would you rather believe, that you belong to a community of warriors battling a secret evil, or that you're a lonely, inconsequential nobody that no one will ever remember?
On a side note, I'd like to give props to the writers for having this one consistent, well-written detail to humanize the actual normal people on the right. The shooter in season 2 was a lonely guy who showed some guilt and remorse after what he did. Todd was a good stepdad, and this wild guy really just wanted to save the kids.
All right. I'm rescuing those kids. All right.
They are good people, misguided by false right-wing ideology and the celebrities who peddle it. It's a pretty good message to show how politics can radicalize normal people. Just too bad it doesn't show both sides. Now, back to season 4. I say this season includes the worst writing the show has seen so far, which is this whole abortion part. It's pretty much Firecracker outs Starlight's abortion records, and then Starlight beats the crap out of Firecracker. Then Huey and Starlight have this, OMG, it's your body, your choice conversation.
I shouldn't have lost it.
How could you not lose it? That was like the most private thing between you and me, and to fucking broadcast it like that, that's a fucking violation.
Huey, I agonized over that decision. You know I did, I just wasn't ready.
I know, I mean, neither was I.
I have to relive it over and over and over again, and my mom...
It's none of her business. It is nobody's business but yours.
I mean, this whole part is like product placement. And afterwards, there's the weak tie-in back to the main story, where the pro-choice sympathy is what tips Huey to forgive A-Train for killing his girlfriend. I mean, really? I'm open to be convinced, but I doubt anyone could explain how Starlight having an off-screen abortion adds any real depth to her character. We learn nothing new about her and instead pretty much get a pro-choice advertisement as if we didn't already know that the writers conform to every left-wing talking point. And like many times so far this season, the writing is just really, really lame. The Boys isn't interested in having a genuine discourse on politics, nor has it ever been this way. The showrunner Eric Kripke said in an article that it was always about Trumpism, and after rewatching the show, it's blatantly clear now that the show exclusively satirizes right-wing fanaticism while being uncritical of left-wing fanaticism and other valid critiques of the left. Things like BLM GNF funds used to buy millions in luxury real estate and pay exuberant salaries to family members and close associates of co-founder Patrisse Cullors. Cities burn in the name of black martyrs before any information is released. The Johnny Depp type false Me Too allegations, or the artificial promotion of bad art for the sake of political correctness. Where are the far-left reactionaries who adamantly oppose anyone who sheds light on information that disproves their own point of view? These are just some of the unexplored ideas that fit right in with the Boys' themes, but we all know it'll never happen because it's married to the Trump analogy. It wouldn't be so surprising if we see a January 6th storm on the Capitol in the season finale. Dakota Bob already dropped the line in the first episode of this season.
Congress certifies the election January 6th.
Look, everyone knows politics is divisive, so if anyone wants to include politics at all in any art whatsoever, make sure to show your perspective fairly, with all the bits and pieces, or make sure you recognize the limited scope of your own perspective. The Boys consistently overreaches, satirizing every political topic when it has no ability or runtime to elaborate on them. And as a show that criticizes media manipulation and echo chambers, you'd think it would know better than this, that it would transcend the problems of modern politics by sending the sorely needed message that everyone, both left and right, needs to self-reflect on their values and educate themselves on each complex political subject with intellectual honesty, instead of being so reactionary as to forego common sense. It's clear that the writers of The Boys are as irresponsible and misguided as the MAGA fanatics that they parody. It's ironic and hypocritical that they criticize right-wing echo chambers, while they themselves live in a left-wing echo chamber. And if some of the writers actually do have fair takes on politics, well, no one would know it from watching the show. Still, The Boys is fun to watch when it's not trying to say anything political. At least to me, the show is a masterwork that's clearly been made by very skilled filmmakers. It's just really disappointing that they wasted a perfectly good opportunity to bring people together against the craziness of modern politics, against virtue signaling, against the greedy corporations and celebrities that use politics for their own gain. Instead, the boys is bogged down by cheap efforts to bash the right, and ultimately drowns in the noise it seeks to rise above.